In November 1960, a 27-year-old Soviet medical doctor was deployed to one of the most remote places on Earth, the Antarctic. He was part of the 6th Soviet Antarctic expedition, stationed at a remote base called Novolazarevskaya. Their mission was to keep the station running through the long polar winter while carrying out scientific research in complete isolation. There were no roads, no aircraft could land, and no rescue routes. Once winter set in, they were completely cut off from the world. For months, no one could enter and no one could leave. Survival depended entirely on each other. And for a long time, everything remained stable. Until April 29th, 1961. That was when the first pain began. At first, it was small, a dull ache in his lower abdomen, something he assumed would pass. But it didn't. By the next day, April 30th, 1961, the pain had become severe, sharp, and constant. Then came the fever, followed by nausea, dizziness, and exhaustion that made even standing difficult. And as a doctor, he already knew what it meant. He didn't need tests or confirmation. He had seen it before. Appendicitis, a condition that, without treatment, leads to death.
And here, there was no treatment, no hospital, no surgeon, and no evacuation. Outside, the Antarctic winter made rescue impossible, and the nearest help was thousands of miles away, completely unreachable. Which meant one thing. If he did nothing, he would die. And worse, the only doctor at the base would be gone. For the first time, the reality settled in fully. Not just the pain, but the isolation and the understanding that no one was coming. He was on his own. So he made a decision. He would operate on himself. Inside the small medical room of the station, preparations began. Every movement was slow and deliberate, his body already weakening. He asked 2 colleagues to assist him. Neither had medical training. One would hold a mirror. The other would pass instruments. Their hands were shaking because they understood exactly what was at stake. If this failed, he would not survive. He lay down, injected a local anesthetic, waited. Then, he picked up the scalpel. There was no turning back. And by the early hours of May 1st, 1961, he began the operation. The first incision was the hardest, not because of pain, but because of awareness. He was cutting into his own body. The room remained silent, broken only by his breathing. But the mirror made everything more difficult. Left became right, right became left, and nothing looked natural. At times, he could not rely on sight alone, so he relied on touch, carefully navigating inside his own body. Every movement carried risk. Then, the dizziness came. His vision blurred. His strength faded. He stopped, closed his eyes, and rested. because if he passed out, it would all end there.
Minutes later, he forced himself to continue, again and again, fighting against his own body, fighting against time, until finally he found it. The appendix, swollen and dangerously close to rupture. He knew how close he had come to death.
With steady, exhausted hands, he removed it carefully, then cleaned the area to prevent fatal infection. By the time he finished, nearly 2 hours had passed. His body was shaking, completely drained, barely conscious. He stitched himself back together, one final act of survival, then collapsed. The following days were uncertain. Fever came and went. Pain lingered. Every hour was a question. Had he done enough? Or was it already too late? The men around him could only wait and hope. But slowly, something changed. The fever faded. His strength began to return, little by little, day by day, until finally, he survived. He stood again, walked again, worked again. He didn't just survive the impossible. He confronted it, alone and won. His name was Leonid Rogozov. For his actions, he was later awarded one of the Soviet Union's highest civilian honors. But he never considered himself a hero.